Today on the channel, I'm going to be talking about Google Ads specifically for medical clinics and practices. Hey, Ed here from 10,000 Foot View, and I've got another Google Ads quick tip for you today. Just before I jump in, a reminder to please like our content and subscribe to the channel. We post about Google Ads at least once every week. Okay, so today, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about Google Ads for healthcare, medical services, medical clinics, medical practices, that sort of thing. There are quite a few kind of gotchas with this particular industry that I will go through. Okay, so first, just in terms of like the scope of this, what I'm going to be talking about is kind of broadly applicable to most advertisers that offer healthcare services, but every business is unique, right? So you should always utilize an agency or an expert pay-per-click manager before getting involved in Google Ads. All right, in terms of the industry, absolutely massive, 4.1 trillion a year for medical services. So obviously, this is big. In terms of this video, I'm going to be talking about a wide range of services, right? So family medicine, med spas, weight loss, psychotherapy, addiction services, physiotherapy, dental imaging services, so on and so forth. Most of these are going to be advertised in a similar way that you're going to be either generating leads for the business or you're going to be like booking appointments directly online. In terms of eccentricities for Google Ads, one of the big ones is marketing claims and ad copy. In a lot of cases, when you're providing services, you're using FDA or Health Canada cleared products or procedures. And with that in mind, you have to be very careful about any claims that you make about the service that you're offering, right? So overstating a weight loss claim or things like that that you can't substantiate. So you have to be very careful about that. And then the other thing I would say with respect to that is do not activate or use any automatically generated creatives because Google may say all kinds of random things that aren't true about your service or product. The last thing on that front is just in terms of your pay-per-click manager, you should work with them to develop a playbook for what they can and can't say about your product. Or if they don't have a playbook, then you kind of probably should be reviewing and approving any new ad copy or creative elements that they're generating. Okay, the next thing is remarketing. If you are offering your services to patients, direct patients, you cannot run any kind of remarketing ads. And that means basically like don't add a list of previous website visitors to your search or to a display campaign. It won't run. If your campaign does get flagged, like a search campaign gets flagged with the health and personalized advertising notice and says limited, that just means that you somehow have associated a remarketing list or a customer list to that campaign, and it means Google will not serve to that list. But if you're using it observationally, then it will still serve normally to regular searches. So you don't have to worry about that flag. We see it in a lot of accounts. It's not blocking your campaign from running to regular users, only to those that you've associated with the remarketing list. All right. In terms of niche-specific restrictions, if you are an online pharmacy or utilizing pharmaceuticals in your practice, so say you're a med spa and you're doing Botox injections, you do need to register with a legit script, which is a service that allows you to get approved for Google, Microsoft, and Meta Ads. I think it's just the three. And you do need to pay legit script between 1,000 to 2,500 or so, depending on different things. You will need to get that in those circumstances, and I believe there's also a requirement for telemedicine. So if you offer telemedicine services, you need legit script. And then addiction services, the other one. So pharmaceuticals, addiction, and telemedicine. All right. In terms of campaign setups, most cases you're going to invest heavily into search, um, and because you can obviously target relevant keywords, um, and usually you would run three different campaign types. One would be based on the service type, right? So psychologist near me, psychologist Toronto, psychology services, that kind of thing. A branded one, right, which would feature your brand name. It's always good to segment or separate those into their own campaign because they will tend to convert at a much higher clip. So you kind of want to see how the different keyword strategies are working for you. And then the third one would be potentially competitor, what we call conquesting. And those are really good if you're kind of tapped out on inventory. So if like you're spending $25,000 on search and you're kind of, as you're increasing the budget further, you're hitting a high impression share and you're seeing like diminished gains. So it's like, you used to get a CPA of $150 for a lead and now you're paying 300. And as you're increasing, it's like the CPA keeps going up. So competitor would be a way to kind of expand into like a new kind of approach. But those typically do cost more than the service type keyword targeting, so be aware of that. So it is more of an advanced thing. And also, I would say don't do that unless you definitely have a competitive advantage, which could be many different things. It could be your location is better. Um, it could be that you have better availability, like more appointment openings. You're using a new technology, what have you, right? Um, in terms of calls to action with your campaigns, and I kind of touched on this already. Um, there's three. I said two, so there's actually three. So one would be filling in an interest form, right? So hey, I'd like to book an appointment, or I'd like to speak with somebody. They fill out a form, and you respond to that. The second one would be the scheduler, right? So where somebody actually books an appointment. That could be an in-person appointment at your clinic, or it could be a telephone consult about making a follow-up appointment to have whatever treatment or diagnostic. And then the third thing is inbound calls. And so those could either come direct from your ads or they could come from the website. And I'd strongly recommend using CallRail because CallRail does offer a HIPAA compliant solution. You do have to request that from CallRail when you sign up, but it will ensure that everything is compliant with HIPAA. If you don't do that, if you use like the regular CallRail, you use Google to track calls from the web, you are not going to be compliant, and that could get you into trouble theoretically. In terms of keyword targeting, I would start with exact match in a new account and use qualifiers to make sure you're not targeting the wrong audience or you're in the wrong market. So an example would be if you advertise weight loss using one method, but your ads are showing up for another method. So, if you use diet or surgical to reference what you're actually providing, that's going to help you get search queries and people to your website that are looking more specifically for your type of solution. The next thing, kind of if you kind of built up your search campaigns, you're running well, would be performance max. And that can make a lot of sense kind of when you get to 10K, just a rough number. And you need to be able to put enough budget on Performance Max to get at least 30 conversions a month. So you need to put a substantial budget there. If you can't get 30 a month, just don't do it because you're going to find that it flails, right? You're just not going to get anything. Or maybe you'll get like a bunch of conversions one week and then like nothing for 2 weeks. Like very uneven performance. So the benefit of PMAX is it can help you reach some queries that you're maybe not already getting. It can also warm up your target audience so that maybe they've just been like toying with the idea of having maybe switching doctors and they've started to look around. So you can get in front of them with display and video ads to promote yourself. And then when they're more serious to make a decision, they're very likely to seek out your brand through search or seek out the service generically, but then click through on your brand because they already have some trust. So that's PMAX. It can not only find like some additional search inventory, but it can also help drive more performance through your search campaigns. Okay, so earlier I mentioned remarketing campaigns. You can't run them, but there is a workaround, and that is what we do for our clients a lot is run remarketing through meta ads. So for a pretty small budget, like 500 or 1,000 a month, maybe not even that much, depending on what you're spending on Google and what you get organically. Um, you know, Meta doesn't have any restriction in terms of remarketing. There are some other types of restrictions with healthcare, but remarketing isn't one of them. And to be honest, Meta's remarketing tends to work more efficiently than Google's does. So that's a really great way to kind of get around the remarketing limitation issue. And then in terms of other campaign types beyond those, PMAX and search, if you're spending a ton, and ton, but 25K, 30K, 50K a month, you may want to consider instead of running Performance Max in conjunction with search, switching out to running AI Max, which is a way to expand keyword targeting in search campaigns, and then run Demand Gen, which is a campaign type that is specifically for the upper funnel, right? So like brand awareness, you run display and video ads in there. And what that does is it gives you a lot more control over buckets, right? Like how much you're spending on search ads and how much you're spending on branding, versus the PMAX solution where PMAX is kind of going to spend wherever it wants, wherever it thinks you're going to get efficiency. But don't get me wrong, PMAX makes a lot of sense at smaller budgets like 10K, 15K. When you get to 25, 50,000, sometimes then it'll make more sense because you're already probably driving a pretty substantial volume of conversions that, wresting control away from PMAX so that you can spend more specifically and have better control of keyword targeting, creative, and audiences and all that stuff may make sense. In terms of just optimization, Google best practices, right? So most agencies that are good will be able to manage your campaigns for you. But one thing to know is that you will be restricted to what ad copy you can run. So I would use ad copy variations, or sorry, variation testing quite a bit because it'll allow you to test at scale, which is just, it's going to get you a lot more efficiency a lot faster. The other thing is search terms review. You're probably paying a good cost per click. And when you're launching a net new campaign, it's very easy for Google to go off the rails and showing your ads to like job seekers, right? So upfront when you launch a campaign, you should be reviewing the search terms reports very frequently, like for the first week, like every day, and then after that, like at least every couple days, and then after a month, once things settle in, a lot less. And then as your conversions ramp up past 50 a month, that's when I would consider migrating your exact match keywords to broad match. Obviously, when you do that, keep a close eye on your search terms. And I would do it not by changing all at once or running an experiment. I would just start to introduce some broad match keywords slowly over time to replace what you've already got in the account. And you will probably find, as long as you maintain a healthy number of conversions every month, that you actually see performance improve. In terms of tools and other tips, I mentioned CallRail up front because it's HIPAA compliant. So if you're doing any type of call tracking, I would do that or use that tool for call tracking. The other thing you can do with CallRail is you can pull in your form submission keywords in gblids. So that would allow you to upload offline conversions such as patients that actually sign up for a service. Um, and the benefit of that is sometimes the leads you get can be low quality. It could even be spam leads. And so by only tracking the leads that are actually high quality, you're going to improve the signals you're sending to Google, which will in turn improve performance over time. Um, Another tool you may use if you're a clinic is the Jane app, which is specifically for booking appointments and maintaining medical practice online. It can be very useful. If you're not going to use the Jane app, then you might want to use something like Calendly to onboard scheduled appointments. And then the last thing I would say, landing page split testing, which is good for any business, would be a really good idea because you can obviously improve your campaign performance over time without spending more dollars on advertising. And there are a lot of ways to implement that. You can use 2 pages on your own site. You can use Optimizely to create tests for an existing page, or you could use something like Unbounce or Instapage to like create brand new pages and split test inline. So that's it for medical services. Um, just to summarize, there are a few unique challenges with Google Ads, mainly with remarketing and some restrictions, and obviously making sure that your marketing claims are aligned with your creative strategy. But outside of that, Google Ads should be run pretty much like any other service business. Start with search and then add on PMAX as you scale up, or maybe even migrate to demand gen when you're spending more than that. I will link an article which goes over all of this in a little more detail in the video description. That is it for me today. I hope you found this video useful.